He's known as one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, but crowds booed him when he made his short appearance on the field in the latest match in Jacksonville against the Jaguars. Accused of sexually harassing almost 24 women, the crowds cursed at him at the top of their lungs and repeated, "No means no." So what does this mean for the quarterback's future in the league? Firstly, why is Deshaun Watson so hated right now? The quarterback for the Cleveland Browns had 24 women come up against him in court recently, accusing him of sexual harassment on multiple occasions. Judge Sue L. Robinson was appointed as the independent disciplinary officer, and she released a 16-page document on her findings into the matter where she came up with a sentence for the quarterback. Eventually, Deshaun Watson settled with the victims in court privately. We don't know what the terms of the agreement were, but as it happens in cases where the culprit has so much power, we're pretty sure he got away with less consequences than he actually deserved. He was accused of hiring female massage therapists and then sexually harassing them. One said that he threatened her life and then forced her to perform oral sex on him. Another said he exposed himself to her and made her touch him. Watson tried pleading innocent and argued in court how he was not raised this way and completely denied he did anything wrong. The judge's decision in this case was disappointing and felt like a tiny slap on the wrist for someone who earns upwards of $200 million per year. He was suspended for only 6 games and was not even made to pay a single dollar in fines. As disappointing as the result was, the NFL has now made this the new normal for the league. They now have a reputation for giving out small and almost insignificant penalties to their players, as lately the true spirit of the game has become lost behind the bureaucracy and politics of the league owners. They seem to have lost sight of what was once important and now only try to think in terms of profit. If Deshaun had been given a harsher punishment, then the Cleveland Browns would have had a multi-billion-dollar loss. So this terrible news did not come as a surprise. If the history of the NFL is looked at, then you'll notice that the harshest punishment given to any sexual or domestic violence crime committed by a player has been an 8-game suspension only. Ray Rice beat his wife in 2014, and the case that went to court only got him a 2-day suspension. So from this standard set by the NFL itself, they couldn't punish Deshaun any further. Sue Robinson argued in her report that she felt terrible because of the verdict she had to come to, but would have felt even worse if she had made a decision that didn't seem fair and consistent with how players were treated in the past. But in response to this, we should be asking ourselves, should we stay stuck in this cycle of injustice, or do we try making a better future for all women? This is just one isolated case where the victims managed to come together to protest against their treatment. The question always remains, how many more women were mistreated by the attacker that never got to make it to court? And how many more Deshaun Watsons does the NFL protect with their failure to make an example of him? Next up is Roger Goodell's response. The NFL commissioner entered the scene and was shocked at the court's decision and immediately stepped in. The internet has been going wild with making memes and videos praising Roger Goodell's way of correcting the situation. "We have seen the evidence. She was very clear about the evidence. She reinforced the evidence," Goodell said, addressing Judge Sue L. Robinson's decision, and instead went on to say how he believed that Deshaun Watson's actions were so horrible and vulgar that a suspension for at least 1 year was the minimum they should even be considering. He went on to appeal the decision to be remade in court and appointed Peter C. Harvey, an attorney general of New Jersey, to handle the case. We all hope that the punishment is made much more extreme, as it really does not seem fair to the victims as of now. And finally, are the Cleveland Browns going to respect the court's decision? The team owning Deshaun Watson's contract seemed to be overjoyed at the initial decision by the court and gave out a statement on how they were going to respect the decision. Obviously for the team, the player was crucial and they needed him on the field without missing out too much time. However, after Peter C. Harvey was put up to managing an appeal of the case, the team began to get nervous. The league, however, agreed with Robinson's findings of harassment but didn't think Deshaun had gone far enough with the women to warrant even a 6-day suspension. The Browns argued that the player had shown intense guilt and truly felt sorry for his actions to somehow reduce his sentence in the eyes of the judges. However, Roger Goodell had his eyes set on at least a year of suspension from the NFL for the violent offenses against the women. We really hope the NFL decides to take a stand against letting their players get away with things like this and make the decision fairly without keeping their businesses and contracts in mind. In other related news, Deshaun Watson publicly apologizes to all the women he hurt. In an interview on the Cleveland Browns pregame show, Watson appeared on live television and apologized for the first time since the accusations became public. "I want to say that I'm truly sorry to all the women that I have impacted in this situation," Deshaun said. In all his previous interviews, he had gone on to publicly declare how he had no regrets about what he had allegedly done and even went as far as to blame the victims, saying that he had been given clear signs of consent. Now, this is probably an attempt by the player and his team to try and gain some sympathy points with the the public as the team was booed off the arena in their latest match. The NFL is also still deciding on whether to give the player a suspension for a year instead of his current 6-month punishment, which he's already gone through. In his previous public appearances, he came off as completely indifferent and unaffected by the crimes he committed. This probably gave more reason to the NFL to consider suspending him for a year, which is why we think he's coming back with a sad puppy face for the cameras. Secondly, Texas cops launched massive manhunt for football coach. At an under-9s game, two coaches had a disagreement, which soon turned into a fight. Yaqub Talib then shot Mike Hickman 3 times in the chest in front of Mike's son and then fled the scene. Parents at the scene later confirmed that Yaqub came onto the field and said that he punched the coach. Soon the crowd around the fight grew, and then 3 shots were heard. Parents rushed their children away from the grounds, and some stayed on the scene and tried performing CPR on the lifeless body on the field. But soon an ambulance came and wrapped up the scene. Yaqub Talib was seen wearing a dark hoodie and a cap running away from the field. Police have now charged him with murder and are looking for his arrest. He is the brother of an ex-NFL legend, Aqib Talib, although police haven't pinned the NFL player as a suspect, although we expect he's under constant watch now. Next up, tampering and tanking in the NFL. Roger Goodell is calling a meeting in Minnesota where he is going to read the Riot Act to the league. Since wagering and betting on matches in the NFL have gotten so much that people are now placing multi-million-dollar bets on every big match, the commissioner intends to take the issue of teams tanking matches very seriously. Instead of teams playing their best at all times trying to win, they decide to intentionally lose so they can be put against weaker teams in the future who they can beat much easier. So the more matches they end up winning against the smaller teams, the higher their rankings in the NFL. This makes things really difficult because as soon as the owners start having connections in the sports betting scene, they openly exploit the system of the NFL. The establishment has done nothing to tackle this, and the effects of this are clearly shown in recent years, although Roger Goodell promises that he wants to change this. The league didn't penalize Ross for tanking before, as he had clearly attempted to, but according to insiders, the NFL simply can't manage tanking because it's so widespread. Even if they try scaring the owners and players into not tampering with matches and wins, it'll only last for so long. When bets are being made in the millions, then it's clear confronting this issue is going to be very difficult. Thanks for watching, and that's a wrap for this video. What was your take on Deshaun Watson's recent scandal, and should he be given a harsher penalty in the NFL? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.